is now called to order. This is the Laredo Bend School District Board of Trustees Business and Support Services Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 14th. It is now 5:36. Roll call, Mr. Garza.
Yes, Mr. Jesus Martinez.
Present.
Mr. Jose Valdez.
Present.
Mr. Ricardo Garza present. Mr. Hector Neola. Here. Dr. Cito May Moreno.
Present.
Mr. Hector Garcia. Mr. Jose Perez.
Absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer to take us through our first few agenda items. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Good evening, Mr. Martinez, board members, colleagues, and members of the public. I'll begin with item number 1, which reads, discussion and presentation to approve and/or ratify the monthly disbursements for May 2015 at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, July 2015. The total cash disbursements were recorded at $21.7 million, of which $14.4 million was for the payment of payroll, salaries and wages, and $7.2 million for the payment of goods and services. May I proceed, Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Item
please.
2, this will be the unaudited financial statements.
Okay.
Okay, as of May 31st, 2015. Donations for the month of May 2015, $23,775. Fiscal year-to-date donations, $149,434. Under our revenues, for May 2015, we earned $17.3 million, which is 1% or $97,000 more compared to May 2014 revenues. Under the year-to-date amounts, total revenue generated $154 million, which is 3% or $3.9 million more when compared to the same period last year. Under tax collections, the budget, we have it at $28.9 million. The September to May collections, $26.9 million, which is 93% of the budgeted amount. And then we have the October through May collections recorded at $26.8 million, which is 90% of the adjusted opening levy of $29.4 million. Next, we have expenditures by object. The month-to-month comparison, total expenditures recorded at $19.2 million, which is 5% or about $1 million more when compared to May of 2014. Then we have the fiscal year-to-date expenditures, $152.3 million, which is 4% or $5.6 million more when compared to the same period last year. Here we have those same expenditures, but we have them by function. We spent $97.4 million, or about 64% in direct instructional services, followed by plant maintenance and operations in the amount of $15.2 million, or about 10% of total expenditures. Here we have other financing sources and uses. Total recorded for May 2015, $1.9 million, which is $1.8 million less when compared to the same period last year. Here we have our administrative cost ratio. The standard is at 11.05%. Our amended budget contains a 7.86%, and our fiscal year to date is 5.96%. Is this better? Yeah. Under the general operating fund, Fund 199, again, revenues, we have them at $154.1 million, which is about 80% of the amended budget of $193.2 million. Then we have expenditures of $152.3 with encumbrances of $5.6 million. The sum represents 81% of the amended budget of $194.2. Here we have the child nutrition program. Total revenues, $17 million, which is 92% of the amended budget of $18.4, which is the original budget. Then we have expenditures of $15.1 million with encumbrances of $3.4 million, whose sum represents 84% of the amended budget of $22 million.
How about that fund balance? We doing anything about it?
Yes, ma'am. The fund balance, we've already sent the plan, the corrective actions to TEA, and we have already gotten approved on the items we need to spend it on.
Right, but it doesn't change the picture. In other words, the things that are being, the reason we even have to have a corrective action plan didn't change.
But it will be reviewed. If we spend fully the whole budget, we will reduce it to $1.2 million. The plan is there. It's reflected there. However, this is as of May, and yes, and as of May, we would have $6.6 million.
Okay.
Under the E-rate fund, 180, total revenue $684,000, which is over 100%, 124% of the revenues, projected revenues. Then we have expenditures of $614,000 with encumbrances of 1.2, which is 39% of the amended budget. Here we have the athletics fund, 181, total revenues $204,000, which is 101% of the amended budget of $202,000. Then we have expenditures of $1 million and encumbrances of $157,000, which represent 88% of the amended budget. Next, we have debt service, Fund 511, revenues $26.2 million, which is 106% of the amended budget. And we have expenditures of $5.4 million, which is 21% of the amended budget.
What caused the increase in revenues? Over projected.
Yes, we were probably off in our projection. I can look into it and then provide you a report what exactly.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Then here we have the health insurance program. The cash received from user charges, $1.5 million. Cash payments for insurance claims, $1.2 million. The net cash provided by operating activities, $361,000. We add to that the cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the month of $6.9. We have a total of cash and cash equivalents at the end of May 31st in the amount of $7.3 million. Next, we have the special revenue funds. If you have any questions, we do have the federal programs director here.
Right. I'm still concerned that it doesn't do any good for us to talk about it up here. The money doesn't get spent. It gets returned. Title I priority, Lamar Middle School, $405,000 that hasn't been spent, and the last day to spend it is the end of this month.
Yes, ma'am. There was a summer, an incentive payout in the month of June, and there was another one being processed for this month as well, for July. Remember, this is as of the end of May.
I guess the only thing about that is it's okay, I'm glad, but it doesn't, if by the time we find out what the final one is, it's too late to do anything about it, it makes it very difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
But I still see a lot of money here that doesn't look like it's being spent, but I guess we'll trust that that it is being spent, and we're just late in reporting. Couldn't this report include through June? I mean, we're already in July.
Yes, we can. We can provide you a
Maybe for
separate
the regular
report.
board meeting, this report can include expenditures through the end of June?
Right, we can, yes, as
All the
an
ones that are-
addendum, an additional one. These are reconciled funds, so we have yet to reconcile the year-to-date, the month-to-date, that's why. The August 31st, we end up presenting in October.
Yeah, but his question is what is...
Oh.
We're in the process, like I said, if we're looking at the SIG grants, I believe are the ones that Dr. Moreno is questioning under 211. I know that the campuses turned in their plan to Ms. Ramirez for their summer programs, and there were some payouts that I know were made in June for those summer programs, and there may still be some pending for July. These, if I remember correctly, these grants end in September, so they still have some staff development that they still need to do as well.
We don't have a 2-month or 3-month master plan and how we're going to spend everything.
Yes, they were turned into Ms. Ramirez.
That's why I said, we not know about that. I mean, give us an idea where we're going to be financially. Are we going to have money left over, not money left over? We should already, the presentation here should be over here. This is how much we have forecast, and this is where we're going to end up at the end of the day. We should know that when they do this kind of presentation. So it doesn't go back to them and say, you know what, they haven't turned in, or we should have an update. We can only report what we spent. Where are we with what projected, so these questions don't come up and say, you know what, this is how much you spent, this is how much projected next 2 months, this is where we're going to be at the end. So that little amount, we could say, you know what, where are we not spending this little amount, or big amount, whatever the situation is, but so we'll have an idea of what's going on.
Yes, sir.
This has been a reoccurring theme already for 2 years. We continue to say that, and it doesn't make us feel any better from saying that we are going to spend it or not. I'd like to see it back in March to see what we're going to do by the end of the new year. So I know some of it gets rolled over, and we get it back again. But I know the reporting part of it is kind of frustrating to see that, you know, we have, I don't know, we don't have a game plan for it.
Even the part that gets rolled over, it means we didn't spend it on the students.
That's right.
I mean, it's still in the bank somewhere. It didn't get, students didn't get the benefit. What is the HHS Aware project?
What fund number?
288.
288?
It's a health awareness project. Right?
Yes, I believe.
I know what that is.
It's a grant that we just
It's
recently
something in
received.
Student services.
Yes.
Mental health.
Mental health, right.
Yes.
It's for a professional trainer grant for mental awareness type of thing.
Awareness or therapy?
No. It's yes, how to deal with unstable students' mental.
Training.
Mental health
Right.
awareness.
So we have from here to September 30th or September 26th.
Right.
To
September 26, 2016.
What about the AP incentives? What are those?
Those are old funds that we used to get reimbursed from the state under the advanced placement that we would qualify for. These funds continue to be in there and not utilized effectively every year.
But how can, what are they good for? How can you spend them?
If I remember correctly, there is a list of allowable expenditures. I just don't have it with me today.
Well, shouldn't
but
somebody be looking at that list?
the owner, right, the program manager will be Ms. Rodriguez. That would, if she's here, she can talk to it.
I know there's some different needs out there for AP.
Advanced academics. What we'll do is, I agree, if I may, Mr. President? Thank you, sir.
397.
You know, Trustee Garza said it best. This is something we talk about regularly. Dr. Moreno has been asked us to be more aware and more aggressive, and I think we could show you evidence that we've done that. Now, the fact that if you're insinuating that all accounts should be spent to zero, I just want to be clear that, like for example, summer school, that's something that you kind of got to let play out, because each employee gets paid a little bit different. You got to hire your people, and then all that's got to go through payroll, and it's kind of a moving target. Now we can say it's between 20,000 and 25,000, but where
How come
in
it
there?
doesn't even get encumbered? We're saying we're spending it during the summer, but the money's not even encumbered.
Well, because you don't issue a purchase order, what we do establish a budget, it's there. We do have a framework, a summer school framework. I think you got a
Well, what I
copy
was
of
going to
it.
say is that for whether it's the advanced placement monies, whether it's the AWARE project, Title I monies, whether or not they roll over or not, whether they're part of the SIP grants, I think we can provide information that shows we're trying to do what the board has asked us to do. It is a paradigm shift, though, because I could build a case. We do a needs assessment, and we need to use our resources. I'm just going to leave it at that, because my interest is not debating, do we spend it to zero? I agree. We'll show evidence of what we've done and our plan to not have large numbers of rollover monies.
Well, and not even that, it's just there, like 482, that's money given to us by community member, right? And the money doesn't even get spent. Well, that's if somebody donates.
That's police. No, that's police.
No, 482?
482, Dr. Hockman, right. That's an annual grant that we apply for, yes. And the schools end up just saving it, and they don't use it all.
Who says you can just save it? It's not given to us, so we can save it. He can save it for that reason. He's giving it to us so our students can have the benefit of it.
Right. Sure, we all assign it to someone.
Half of these things we don't know the parameters of spending.
Right.
I mean, I wish I could
They don't spend
understand. I like the one that says Performing Arts Center. If we have an available balance in there of
I'll
$393,000.
have a manager.
I'm not sure what that's going to be used for. I don't know. It'd be good if we know exactly what it can be used for.
The Hogman has to be for classroom.
Classroom materials.
Materials and supplies, yes. That's what the teacher applied for, and that's how the teacher needs to spend it. The problem is that
Valdez?
the teachers end up,
Sorry.
they don't request
Mr. Valdez?
to use it.
Yes, Ms. Ayala, on Fund 461, Campus Activity Funds, last year you had a balance of, leftover of $411,471.
Yes, sir.
The budget was 1.241, 1,241,000. Then this year, you started with 1,300,000. Was that 411,000 carried over?
Yes, sir. They roll forward.
Okay. Now, if it had been spent, would we still have gotten the 1.3?
Yes. That would have been
So
our
we lost
estimate.
$411,000.
No, we did not lose it.
This is not in your area, you just do the accounting.
No, no.
But
The-
somebody lost, the school district lost $411,000 last year. That's just on the campus activity funds, that's lost. And then,
Ms. Ayala, would you like to explain
this
that,
year,
please?
Yes.
this year we have a fund balance of $422,000. Am I correct? That's what it says here.
We do have
Okay.
available balance right now, yes.
Now, we haven't gotten a new budget yet, ¿verdad?
Correct.
Okay, that means we'll probably be losing that also, since it will be carryover monies. You reduce it from the total grant allotment. That's usually the way the federal government works. If your allocation is $1 million and you have 200,000 left over, they only give you 800,000 and you still have 1 million.
But we're not giving them money. This
Well,
is funds that the schools are
It doesn't,
generating.
see, this doesn't add up, okay? The way I see it, we lost 411,000 last year, and we're losing 422,000 this year. In a year, in 2 years, we're losing a little over $800,000. Now this is, you only do the accounting, okay? The excitement is somewhere else. What is the campus activity funds? What are those monies used for?
Those are the fundraisers done at the school level. The fundraisers performed by the schools. The principal's account, referred to as principal's account. So we don't give
Oh,
the
that's where they
money.
take the money from the parents, what we discussed the other time, right?
That's where it's being collected, yes, sir. The picture money,
Well-
there it
So
is.
does that one roll over?
Yes, ma'am. That's why we have two options. The district has an option to carry the activity funds in the general fund, but if we leave it in the general fund, it does not roll forward. But if we have it as a special revenue fund, then we're able to roll it forward. The school gets to keep it and spend it in accordance to their needs.
Well, members of the board, we have then an activity where throughout the district, monies are raised in the amount of 1,300,000. Am I correct? We go back to this now, okay? What do you raise it for? You haven't spent it. You still have 422,000. So the schools are raising money, but then they're not spending it. Now these funds are supposed to be spent for activities that will benefit the students, the parents, and so on, and the teachers and everybody. So somebody is missing out. Now, do we have jurisdiction over these monies? Am I correct? In other words, that we can tell the people over there, whoever's running the show there, start monitoring it a little bit closer. What activities are being carried out in the particular schools? We need to report on that. We already know, we have an idea of the types of activities that take place in our schools that benefit, okay? I think we need to do a little bit closer monitoring there and see that these revenues that are raised by the schools are spent. What are they doing there?
Well, may I respond to that, Mr. President?
Hold on, please.
Some of the-
Have you finished, Mr. Valdez?
Yes.
Okay,
I know
Mr.
that
Garcia?
some of the money that the school leaves over just for the sponsors are sophomore classes, junior classes. They're putting money away for the senior prom, so they're accumulating money that they raised their freshman year, sophomore, and junior year to do a big
their
expenditure
senior
their
prom.
senior year. So it's more of a savings account for these organizations. In athletic, they raise money to buy uniforms the following year. So a lot of times they're just raising money for that senior year. Well, in our days, the senior year trip, but now it's the senior year graduation. I mean prom, the junior prom. So they're raising money for those reasons too. So that's why a lot of that money you see it as savings from the school, but it's really money that they've allocated for their senior year or their junior prom.
The high schools, yes.
Right.
Dr. Nelson?
Well, I was just going to really, Trustee Garcia hit it on the head. If I'm a principal and I have a dance and I raise $1,000, and so then I use 300 of those dollars to go do whatever they want to do for our campus. Well, that $700 that's left, I hear your point, and it's well taken about closer monitoring. I respect that. I'm just saying that as part of that, Trustee Garcia really already said it. Some of that's wise. You collect your money from several fundraisers. You do it year after year. And then at the end of 3 or 4 years, you have your 5th grade trip to San Antonio, or your 11th grade prom, or not
everybody.
Prom can either be $150 a kid, or prom can be $60 a kid, depending on how much money that class raises. So Trustee Garcia said it already.
I suppose that can be debated.
Sure,
because
of course it can.
what's the use of raising money? In 2 years we'll be going, to say Six Flags in Texas.
Sure.
By that time, these kids are already married. Okay. So you don't go into you don't carry out these activities this year because you save it for next year. Now that doesn't make sense. If you have needs right now and you have resources right now, use them right now. Because then what we're doing is just going on promises and sloganeering,
Yes, sir.
Again, I see your point also, okay? I see your point. There's a time to save and there's a time to spend. There's a time to address needs. And if more needs need to be addressed, all you got to do is come back to the board and we'll talk about it. And we can find the resources, okay? But if we don't do these things, we don't carry the activities out, we start being very conservative with what? What is there to conserve? We don't have anything to begin with. But coming back to this, I just thought I'd wake everybody up.
Mr. Martinez.
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
I think that the bottom line is that some of these expended, some of this money that's left over, and we only bring it up, Dr. Nelson, because in the past, and we're still seeing it, at the end of the day, are we sending any money back to anybody? Yes or no?
To where?
Are we sending
Anyone.
money back
To anyone,
to anyone?
to Austin or
Are we
Washington.
losing any money?
On some grants, maybe?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
On the federal.
That's what everybody's saying. That is
None.
unforgivable.
On the federal side, the others are,
But
is
still,
our money.
it's still not the school one, that's something different. But the federal and all that, if we're sending money back, then we're doing an injustice to our kids.
Right.
End the story.
Mr. Garza?
Right?
Why don't,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
why don't we do this? I think it's because we're finding out, we look at it once a month and we really can't go through the tabs on it. Why don't we get the appropriate committees to report on this on a monthly basis? I mean, the operating committee, you have some FEMA grant in there, you spend it. Okay, so we can mention that. There's some that go to student services. There's a bunch of them here that we can report on.
Sure.
On their report, Mr. Gomez can report on his, and then we can have a dialogue as we
Sure.
go along. Not at the business support meeting. We're just getting totals right here. We don't even know, you know.
But
It puts a lot of pressure on us to try and give you some feedback on this. Rather than while we're there, we can dialogue and say, hey, you got, on fund so-and-so, you have so much money left, and you said that we can spend it on this. Why don't we try and go this route and figure it out so that we can have that discussion? Now, we're having a discussion right here.
Yes, you too.
Our monthly meeting, we only see this thing once.
Sure.
So
I think it's a good
better
idea.
idea if we just continue to put it before the committee meetings, and then we could just go ahead and push it around there.
But